So today we just got dropped a developer diary for NASCAR 25. There's been two of them before this, but none of them have really excited me. This one, it perked my ears up a little bit because they're talking about career mode. And in this 5-minute video, there's really nothing wrong with anything that they're saying. Like, it all sounds really good. I mean, all across the board, it really does sound like this is going to be better than Ignition, which I know that's not really a high bar, but with how bad Ignition was and how bad and misleading the marketing was, it's kind of hard for me to really trust any developer ever. I mean, it was kind of the same way with back in the Technics days, but like, man, it's about as rock bottom as it could possibly be for console games, for the NASCAR side of things. So the first thing to bring up in the diary is the official word of, well, not the official. This isn't the first time I bring it up, but it was announced a couple weeks ago or something that ARC is going to be in the game, and same with the Xfinity and Truck. Now, originally my opinion on that was, is that too many? That seems like a lot to do in your first game with doing all these series. Because ideally, I would wish they would just focus on one. Ideally, I wish they could just focus on one, and then they can get that good and get a good base, and then they can start expanding. But here, they're just dropping their balls on the table, saying we're going to do all of this. So I'm hoping that's like possible. Again, this is still from the Monster team, and obviously we've seen with WhatiFRacing and the other games, like they could do a lot of different series. But if it's going to be anything like that, which, again, it's hard to gauge on what the hell the game's even going to be like, because WhatiFRacing, there was slight differences in how the cars drove, but it wasn't like 100, it wasn't like a monumental difference. It was just like a subtle little thing that you noticed. So I'm kind of curious if that'll be sort of the case with much of these series, that maybe they'll drive about the same, or maybe I'll be completely wrong. I mean, hey, this is just speculation, irresponsible speculation, but it'll be interesting to see like what they exactly do with it. But if any company could do it, or at least throw in multiple series at once, I feel like this is probably the team that can do it. So I don't know, we'll see. But my stance was just always like, get one series good, get a good base, then you can start expanding on it. Throwing this many at once, I remember in the Heat 3 like challenge videos, Claire Lang was mentioning or somebody was mentioning in those videos talking about the Dirt series. It took like 8 months to develop just one series. There's 4 here. Obviously, that team was a lot smaller than this team, so maybe it is realistically possible to do 4. I don't know. But I guess we'll see what actually comes of it. And it does seem like they're going to get a good chunk of ARCA drivers and ARCA tracks even. Maybe not all of them, but at least a good chunk. So it'll be interesting to kind of see that. So at least there's going to be progression. Which, again, I hated in World of Outlaws 24, that the format was, well, you do everything, you do like, it was just so much of just the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's like regional, you had to win like, or they threw in the same series as local just with 2 extra cars. It's like, well, if you beat everything in local, it's like, well, here's that again in regional, here's that again in national. It's like, it pads out the career. Like, I'd rather just have something a little more bite-sized, manageable, and having 4 is way more manageable than trying to go through 30 different fucking things in different regions. I hate that format. I never liked it, so 4 is fine. I just hope they can do it. I like this. I really like this idea. This is something that they kind of... they've only really done this twice in a NASCAR game. Thunder 04, when you start your career mode, you're in a lower funded shop, and then as you get upgrades and stuff, your shop looks more and more professional. Heat 3 kind of did the same thing. And yeah, to have this back, or at least this look, is, I think, fine. I think that's great. It's great. It's another level of progression that you want to see in the career mode, where you're seeing as you move up, things are looking nicer. You're not in a as you would call it, a grimy gas station or something. So I'm fine with that. That looks good. That's a good visual. You don't just want a black background that just upgrade stuff or a shot. Like, this is definitely a little more, in terms of presentation, a little bit better. I like that. I just like the honesty with this. Just like, oh, here's how we planned it. Like, here you go. Like, you want proof of like how we did it. Here you go. I appreciate that honesty, because that connection with the from them to the player, and just laying it out all out there, like, here's how we did it. I'll give you a fucking golf clap, because Motorsport Games couldn't be fucking bothered to do that. They wanted your 3-year-old son to understand the intricacies of a fucking off-caster setup. They want them to understand that. You just gotta pencil that in. It's ridiculous. That was ridiculous, but I just really appreciate that honesty. I like just that they're showing all this. It's appreciated. I do have to question, though, like, the logistics of, like, your ARCA team, like, all of your race shops are just on one property, like, as you go up. I don't know if that really bothers anyone else. I don't know. Maybe seeing it in, like, through like a visual, like that, like, you start off with all you have is just this one thing with ARCA, and then something gets built, and then you have the truck or something. Maybe it's like that, and my brain's being stupid. They even, I don't know what more to say about it. I again, just laying out all the references, just showing you the process. It's good. That's awesome. That looks cool. It reminds me a little bit of, like, NASCAR 15, like the main menu, but except it's more expansive. I like the fact that they're picking certain elements from, say, like NASCAR 15, that race shop, or we'll implement an element to that here. The menus, or we'll implement that. I like that approach, because even in the worst of NASCAR games, there's still some kind of positive element, like Ignition. Worst thing ever, but at least it drove okay. That was mainly because of the R Factor engine, but yeah, I got it. What do I say about it? It looks cool. I like the fact that people are moving in the background. It's visually stimulating to the eyes. This is where, like, maybe the main menu is going to be, or maybe it's just for career when you get to Cup. I'm assuming that's the case, but looks fine to me. I would just kind of think that, again, this is the first game, so maybe I'm going way too out of range, but I would definitely like there to be a bit more, like, a tier. Like, once you get to the Cup team, like, I'm assuming a Beach and McLeod race shop is going to look this way, and then a Hendrick Motorsport shop is going to look way more advanced. Like, I would like that different type of tier, but for a first game, this is a fair starting point. I'm hoping that will just be implemented someday. But hey, this is good. That's fine. I was not expecting any of that, so this is more than I expected. So this stuff here reminds me a lot of the F1 games, where they basically gave you a decision on what you can do. I like the fact that there's going to be more things to do off the racetrack. I appreciate that. This seems pretty simple, like, in terms of an idea, but I'm totally fine with something like this. I just think it'll be really funny. I think it'll just add a lot of fun to the career mode, because if I want to be the type of person to either clean up a local park or focus on my race shop, there's a lot of funny things you can do, or jokes, or you can kind of role play as, like, pretending to be like a person that doesn't care about that. Like, I can see a lot of fun being had with that. I actually smiled there a little bit, by the way. That was impressive. Like, I haven't smiled in a joyful way in a NASCAR game in a long time. NAZKHAR, that's how I say it now. So I don't respect it enough. But hey, I like that. I appreciate that. It might be a little bit bare bones, but this is a fair, solid start. I also noticed too, you get rep. I wonder what rep exactly does, or how will that play into it. Maybe you'll get better brands. Maybe like better sponsors if you have a better reputation. Maybe it's that. I don't know. I just appreciate Dale Jr.'s part of this. Dale Jr. has always been a pretty chill guy off the racetrack, and I think he generally is a person that, despite all the fame, actually has a noodle and actually has pretty reasonable takes on stuff, and seems pretty... He's not a NASCAR bootlicker, so I applaud that, because we have a lot of those anymore. So Dale Jr., I mean, I've simped him my whole life, but it's nice that even taking fanboy cap off and putting it to the side and just looking at it the way it is, it's good. Now this shot here, I think, is clearly a work in progress. Because this is literally basically Heat 5. Or, that's what it basically looks like. Now, obviously, we got word that they are not using Unity engine. It is a different engine. So this is probably just a placeholder to give them a reference on what to base whatever engine they're going to actually use for that. So they're just... So I don't take this screenshot as like, oh my god, screenshot from the game, like in a, you know, soy face emoji. So, I'm not going to take this screenshot to heart. I think this is... it clearly looks like a Heat 5, so it's a placeholder. I'm not going to put any stock in what we're seeing here is in the actual game. So, I played Heat 5 more than enough to know that it's pretty sure it's Heat 5. So, it's just a placeholder.
To work with a driver at this level before, and not just somebody who just comes in and plays the game and says, that's good. He's actually actively involved in helping design the game.
Man, it's just like every approach. It's like they looked at what Motorsport Games did and be like, all right, we're going to do it like the exact opposite. We're going to take notes. They did this. We'll do the exact opposite. Because that game was just like, for so long, it was just nice looking pictures. And it was cool as like a teaser, but then after a certain point, it kind of just got old. And then when the game came out, and then how they responded in a town hall, which wasn't really a town hall, because town halls are supposed to be like a live Q&A, but they didn't have the balls to go live and answer questions in real time because they knew they were just going to get flamed, just like their actual live chat was at that point in time. But it was pretty embarrassing, and honestly, it should be in like a Netflix series of like how bad, because like that's about the worst it can get. You thought the 704 games were bad, you thought your 10X was bad. Ignition decided to just be like, all right, those are child's play in comparison. We're going to be number one in trash. But all of this here is good. I have not had any problems with anything that they've done. I'm actually quite surprised they're doing as much as they are for this first game. So it's all sounding very good. Well, here's our first big main menu, and or at least for the career, obviously work in progress. So who knows what version this is and if it's going to look different. Who to say? But we could see overviews, staff, sponsors, social media. We see its first season, so even before they mention it in this video, if they never even mention it, it's going to get people thinking. It's going to get their you know, 2 brain cells, which again, I'm a part of that too. I'm not even trying to insult them. I'm part of that stupid clump too. But just looking at this, it tells you that career mode is already going to give you the option, or at least assuming so, it's going to give you the option of you can either run your race team or just race as a driver. So there's a, you know, team owner, and then team owner / driver, and then just driver. So fine with that. I think that's totally okay for people that don't want to be bothered by it. Though, in the Heat games, this was like the last time this was implemented. In the Heat games, I know there was a distinct difference in being a driver racing for like Hendrick than driving as an owner. Your owning a car and then buying the parts that way actually makes your car faster than it did than just racing for a team. So, curious if that little nuance is going to be implemented in there too, or it's going to be the same. I don't know. One of those many random tidbit facts I've learned over the years. So, I don't know. But again, this all looks fine. It reminds me a little bit of World of Outlaws a little bit with the layout. Especially with like the overview stuff and it's showing like the expenses. Like this is pretty similar to like Woo 24, Woo 22. It's a lot like that. Same with staff. It feels like that. Which isn't, it really shouldn't be a total shock, because since Monster Games people are still kind of having a hand in this, it's going to probably have the feel of that with the menus. Now, driving, no idea, but the menus, it gives me that vibe a lot. Obviously, on the top right, we have money, we got WP, and we got RD. I don't know if that means, I don't know what any of those mean. I mean, we got reputation, we know what that is, but I don't know what RD and WP means. Or RD, W, I don't know. Unsure. So, R&D, maybe that's research development points, maybe it's that. I don't know what, I don't know. And then WP, I'm not sure. I'm not an expert. Please, God, comments, don't kill me for that. I don't know. But, yeah, this looks good. I like this. I like that the fact that people are let me mute this for a second so you can see, but like people are moving in the background here. Like it's good. I like that there's TV. Like it's a very, it's just not a static background. I appreciate that. That's fine.
If you want to just concentrate as being a driver, you can do that while mildly being involved in some of the decision making. But if you want to go in there and manage every last little detail, you're going to be able to do that as well.
That alone, like I was saying, that confirms that. So that's also cool to have that option, or the fact that it was confirmed, which is, I have no problems with that. People should be able to play it how they shouldn't, and they shouldn't give you shit for it like I got in Wu24, because good God, that was probably the most miserable experience I've ever had. So, I like that. I don't know what more to say, I just like that. And clearly Wu24 still haunts me. Mainly with Ty Majesty's section, he's just talking about the options you have on what you want to buy, like what you want to prioritize, like your money and stuff, which is all fine. I have no problems with that. I think it's cool. Ty Majesty's a part of this. I've always liked Ty Majeski. So, we'll go on a tangent about his championship another day, but like, I like that. I like the fact that, I mean, it's all good stuff. I mean, there's really nothing here that screams, oh God, this is a nightmare. How dare they? Like, it's clearly efforts been put in. They're not just having 1 year to come up with everything. It seems like this has been, a work in progress for multiple years, probably during the point in time when Motorsport Games was still holding on to a license and iRacing wanted it, but then Motorsport Games wanted like millions of dollars for it, and they're like, nah, we're not gonna do that. We're just gonna wait for you to like explode, and then we'll acquire it. So they did everything right in just waiting. But I'm sure that this has been in development for at least more than a year. We're going to make a safe assumption.
One of the cool things about finishing a race in this game is going to be how your performance has resonated within the social media world. So it's not just going to be drivers who might be commenting on how you performed during the race on social media, but some of the most popular NASCAR social media influencers will be chiming in as well.
Again, everything he said there, I mean, there is no problems. I'm totally fine with that. That's good. Absolutely neat. Again, this looks so much like Heat 5, which, I mean, if this is, like, the final version, I'm going to be kind of concerned that, like, it's going to look so much like Heat 5, because general perception is going to rip the game apart before it even comes out, because if it's, like, a case where it looks like it's a Heat game but actually drives way, way differently from it, then I don't know. I think people are kind of expecting it to not look like Heat 5 because they see Heat 5 and they're just like, oh, well, dumb arcade game with nothing to it. So I don't know. I'm assuming these are all still just placeholders, but again, that looks fine. I'm curious about the templates. I mean, if they're going to use anything like what the World of Outlaw games have, where the templates and customization you can have in designing stuff is pretty intricate. I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it if it didn't have a full custom paint booth, but it had what it had in Wu24, then that would be fine enough. So, I don't know.
Out the driver's perspective.
But I do like the fact that there's going to be more things off the track, or at least some things off the track, where it's not just you're going from race to race and it feels monotonous. That's kind of what it felt like in the Heat games, where just you kept doing a race and you were just doing races, and there was nothing else after. At least here, there's going to be something. I mean, I guess the Heat games, all you got was the social media messages, but that was really it.
Is the interaction that drivers have between themselves and their crew chief and their spotter.
It's kind of haunting that he's mentioning this, because Disco Inferno brought this up many years ago about having like an interactive crew chief. Don't know how in-depth that's going to be, but clearly there's going to be something. I don't know how in-depth, but there's going to be some kind of thing to it, which is pretty shocking. I never, I guess, assumed that would happen. But once again, that's great to have. I'm just interested to see how that's going to be implemented, because I feel like that's going to be really hard to do. So it might be basic. But for a first game, I will give a lot of slack on things appearing basic if it has like a really strong base with everything else. So I'll be maybe more ranting if it's like year 6 or 7 and it still hasn't been updated. Then I think I'll be ranting more then. But here for first game, that's fine. I have no problems with it. I feel like Disco Inferno is going to be doing like backflips hearing this, because this is like what he always wanted. And who the hell got a 59-second lap time at presumably Atlanta here? Even on an out, I don't know. I don't know. I found that funny.
Themselves and their crew chief and their spotter. So that's something that we're really focusing on while you're in the car, while you're driving, while you're in the menus, making it feel less like a UI screen and more like an interaction between you and them.
So we've really put together the most amazing team that I can think of to build a NASCAR game. We've got decades of experience across many of us, across every platform imaginable. We've got laser scanned assets. We've got amazing driving physics. We've got literally a company that has been built on the foundation of being authentic and true to the sport. And you add all those things together, and it's really this recipe to make the best NASCAR experience possible.
For more information about the game, visit NASCAR25.com.
And that's it with the video. There is more. I don't know what else more is going to be. I'm going to check out the website. All right, so get your first in-depth look. I don't know if there's going to be anything new here. Crew mode kickoff, backyard garage. I think it's about the same. Yeah. I mean, even I see NASCAR Thunder. I see NASCAR Thunder there. But we kind of had the same problem with Ed Martin, where he was a part of the golden EA days with Utenix, and that didn't turn out well. So I'm not going to hold much stock in like, oh, well, this person back then worked on this great game, and now he's back to the... Sometimes either people change over those 20 years, and they're just not the same visionary as they once were, or budgets, constraints, or... maybe they're not as big of a hand in it as it was perceived. Who knows? But at the end of the day, all this sounds really good. I don't really have any real things to criticize. This is like a positive video. What a concept. But it all sounds great. I like it. I'm just curious to see when it's going to come out. It's going to probably come out like the worst possible time for me, so I can't probably play it when it comes out day one. But I don't know. That would be my luck with stuff, but that's really it. I don't know what more to say. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with it from a pure just gaming experience, as I am no longer a NASCAR fan and everything. Like, my love for the Cup Series does not exist anymore, but I think I might be spending most of my time on Xfinity Series, so that better be pretty freaking good, because those cars drive in real life. They look like they drove amazing. Even in iRacing, they drove really good when I had that back then. So, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious about Kuruma with the Cup Series, where how much is upgrading a car is going to really matter if everything's kind of a spec series at that point? Like, how much can you upgrade a car? I feel like I don't know how that would work, because it's a spec series, so there's no... I don't know how that would work. I don't know. I don't know. But either way... that's it. I'm done. See you all somewhere else some other day. And, bye.